The slop heads love tuning in to watch me get fucking flexed on. So.
I was gonna say, have you found anyone who's just like faded you and done,
me?
Like,
well, people have faded me, and they're millionaires now on Underdog.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna have that. We're creating new Haralabobs every day. The next generation of Mavericks front office.
Let's go.
People fading our picks.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Troll Bro Dude. And before we get into anything else, we have to talk about our sponsors from Underdog Fantasy, the newest and best place to play fantasy sports and win big prizes. And unfortunately, I thought we were just going to be in slop season, but the Denver Nuggets did the worst thing possible to me yesterday, and they lost to the Miami Heat, and now it's a tied series. So we have to continue to slug through this for the next possibly 2 weeks until we fully get the slop season. But before we talk about the slop that dropped today, let's make some picks on here. Sam, I'm going to need your advice because, as we know, I'm the worst ever. Parm came on and got a 4-for-4 picks that won $100 in his first time. And I can't even, when they give me a free pick, I still can't even get it right. So what are we feeling for Wednesday night's game in the Heat Nuggets?
All right, so let's start with Michael Porter Jr.
Okay. Zero passes?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm feeling a lower for him, and I'm going with 2.5 3-pointers made. We're going lower on Michael Porter's 2.5. We're going higher on Aaron Gordon's points, rebounds, assists.
Okay. And then we need one from the Heat.
And then we're going lower on Jimmy Butler's points. I do not care what it is.
25.5. He has not been coming close recently to getting higher on his points.
Also higher on Bam's points.
All right, higher on Bam's points. All right, so you think the trends will continue throughout this series? If you do the Sam pick 4 picks right there, you put $10 on it, you can win $100 on Underdog. Use the promo code SLOP SLOP to get a $100 deposit match. Supports the program. All that good shit. And as we are heading into slop season, we have possibly the sloppiest slop that has ever slopped that dropped today. We have Harrison Faigen, our favorite Klutch shill and Lakers insider, here to talk about the LeBron James slop that dropped today. Just as Panasonic Matt, frequent guest of the program, put it, the purest slop you could ever imagine. A trade that makes no sense, probably won't happen, and is maybe impossible via the trade machine. I mean, Chris Haynes leaked later that the Mavs even had an offer prepared for LeBron James until the Lakers turned their season around. But LeBron couldn't have been traded this past season, so I'm assuming he meant for this offseason.
Well, no, they updated their article to say that, they were considering making a bid for LeBron James, and they were getting their offers together, sources say, but despite the fact that LeBron was trade ineligible. So I took that to mean that Dallas was actually, they had a meeting where they're like, all right, guys, what's our best offer for LeBron? And
Dorian Finney-Smith, this was before Kyrie.
Some intern in the back, raised their hand. They're like, Nico, I don't think we can trade for LeBron. It says, I'm reading here on silverscreenandroll.com that he's trade ineligible. They had this explainer up on why the team can't trade him. So
yeah, and this is why
and I disagree about this being the sloppiest. To me, I take your points, but I also think isn't the spirit of slop stuff that's ultimately kind of meaningless, but that we get all excited about when somebody tweets it out? It's like Peyton Pritchard demanding a trade is the sloppiest slop. It's just it's something that someone's going to trade for him. It's probably not going to matter. Sorry, Sam, with all due respect.
I can't believe you're saying that Peyton Pritchard, who was literally unplayable in a Miami series that should have been custom made for him, changing teams is not of consequence.
It's one of the sadder trade requests that I can recall of this guy who's getting DNT.
It's not quite Furkan Korkmaz level.
No, you're right. Actually, that's the saddest one. I always forget about that one.
Well, Furkan requested a trade twice. One time before he ever was a rotation player. He had never cracked the Sixers rotation when he requested a trade the first time. Then he broke out as a rotation player the next year, got an extension, And then he requested out again halfway through that contract. So Furkan Korkmaz still holds this, probably, yes, the sloppiest trade request of all time. But back to what you were saying about the Mavericks not knowing that they couldn't trade for LeBron James. This is why I always say that every member of every front office should have a Dunked On Prime subscription, is what I'm always saying. But if you hadn't seen the news, Shams drops this report today, which starts with sources tell me Kyrie Irving, which the greatest four words, 5 words, 6 words, whatever it is, in the NBA that you can get is sources tell me Kyrie Irving. 5 words. And it's basically this report that comes out this morning that says that Kyrie is recruiting, quote unquote, LeBron to the Dallas Mavericks. And just to give a little bit of background on this isn't actually the first time that someone has kind of connected the dots on LeBron potentially playing with Luka Doncic. Brian Windhorst has been saying this for like a year and a half, 2 years now, about how Luka's his favorite young player. He's always wanted to play with him. And then if you go back to March, our guy, Bill Simmons, said on his podcast, predicted Draymond Green would sign with the Mavs this offseason as a free agent, and they would trade for LeBron James. Now, Bill loves to do this thing where anytime he hears about something, he passes it off as his own prediction. And now we're sitting here today with one of the funniest, I guess, like I said, slop drops that we've ever got. Something that seems completely unrealistic. Harrison, how did we even get here? The Lakers were just in the conference finals a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. How are we here already?
I have earnestly no idea how he have arrived at the point where there was apparently like a coordinated press embargo that like you can't tweet about this until like the day after the finals. Kyrie doesn't want to distract from, game 2.
Sure.
We gotta put this out at 11 a.m. or whatever it was, the next day after game 2, like upset Michael Malone that nobody's talking about the Nuggets, still. He just
Look, Miami Heat might have won
last not night. Again! The Lakers!
Shoot!
I don't understand where this came from, like why it's got, I understand where it came from. It came from, Kyrie Irving's camp trying it for
Wait, reasons, do you think it came from Kyrie? Because I have a theory on this.
I'm open to any, galaxy brain theory. I don't know that it necessarily came from Kyrie, but it was 2 reporters who, have broken a lot of Kyrie stories, I will say.
Right. Sure. Yeah, that's a very good point. Kyrie
has said that he doesn't talk to us like puppeteers, pawns, whatever,
sure.
And should not believe anything from anyone that he does not say directly. But this felt, if maybe not from him directly, potentially someone in his camp. Yeah.
So in general, when you see a Shams report, probably a good chance it came from Kyrie if it is about Kyrie. He leaked to Shams when he wanted out of the Nets. They did a sit down. He eventually leaked to Shams again when he wanted out of the Nets again. And then that actually led to his trade to the Dallas Mavericks. But I did have a theory.
He also let him know that he was daring to be different and, heading into and leading us into tomorrow by opting into his player option to fulfill his original 4-year commitment to Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets. Okay.
Yes.
That was also directly to Shams.
And then 6 months later, he requested the trade again.
Sometimes you've got
I was talking about this on our pod. Like that was the Nets' fault. Like Kyrie showed up to work for 2 weeks. He didn't tweet any anti-Semitic movies, and they didn't want to give him the max for that. So it's just like, what is he supposed to do? Not demand a trade? Like,
that's a good point. Very good point.
Sometimes when you dare to be different, you have to then dare to be different to the difference that you just dared. They call that double dare.
I'm double different.
Yeah. Double different.
So my thought on this was actually that this came from LeBron. And the reason I say that is because
Harrison's not going to let this stand, by the way. This is I can already see the clutch.
Well, Shams is a clutch guy too, so that's
It's true, I guess.
Shams and Haynes have both broken their fair share of clutch stories, so
Exactly.
Fair enough.
the defense rests for now, and lets you continue.
Okay. So who has wanted Kyrie on the Lakers going back last year at this time? We were doing podcasts about LeBron trying to get Kyrie to go to the Lakers.
Mhm.
During the year, we were getting reports about him wanting Kyrie on the Lakers, and they end up not doing it. And honestly, I think that all things considered, I said to Harrison before the podcast, the Lakers traded half their team, basically. They remade their whole roster in the middle of the season and got to the conference finals, which is about as good as you can expect if you trade half of your team halfway through the season. And now we're still getting reports that LeBron and Kyrie want to team up, and now the pressure, I feel like they're trying to shift the pressure onto the Lakers front office to make a play for Kyrie, because as Jovan Bua reported just before we came on, the Lakers reiterated on Monday they are not interested in Kyrie Irving and they will not pursue Kyrie Irving, which I'm assuming they also told LeBron James at some point if he ever approached them about this. And everything that comes with the Kyrie experience, I totally get why the Lakers don't want to do it. I mean, I was sitting here when we did the trade deadline thing, and I was like, maybe the Mavs can turn around their season, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And this wasn't even Kyrie's fault. He was actually very good for them offensively, and to my knowledge, didn't really have any off-the-court distractions or whatever in his short time there. But, like, if I am LeBron, I understand why LeBron wants someone like him. He just saw them get so close to winning the NBA Finals, and then they came up short because he probably felt like they didn't have enough guys. And then if I'm the Lakers, I'm like, we just build a team that's good enough on the fly to make it to the conference finals, and you were injured. So, like, why don't we just kind of double down on the same strategy that just got us this far, do it for a whole year, and potentially have other moves that we can make? We have the 17th pick in the draft. We could possibly get like a mid-level exception or something to bring in some more talent. And why don't we just try to rebuild this thing organically here and see if we can get back to the conference finals or the finals next year, as opposed to throwing a max at a guy, which, by the way, it would take a lot just to even get to close to what Kyrie's number is in terms of freeing up cap space if they don't do a sign and trade. And this is a guy that's just like a complete wild card, a complete question mark. And the last time you did this was Russell Westbrook, who, yes, was a worse fit, but was also at least like a great teammate before this, to our knowledge, and like a good locker room guy, whereas Kyrie's the complete opposite. So, like, if I'm the Lakers, I probably would just try to run it back and like tweak things on the side, hope I nail that draft pick, and kind of go from there. Like, I'm not going crazy about the idea of bringing in Kyrie Irving when things are pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And then for the additional reason that if they actually wanted to bring in Kyrie Irving and do so in sort of any realistic way where he's not, you brought up last year, the story that I always remember from last year was not just the hilarious opt-in statement that he released on why he was taking his like $38 million whatever player option, that it was because he wanted to be so different in opting in. But it was also the like, no, Kyrie's thinking about taking the mid-level from the Lakers. It's like, no, he's not. There's no way. Like, no one's gonna take them. I'm sorry. Like, I know this guy's different and he's unpredictable. And if there was ever a star that would give up, $35 million, however much it was that he had the player option for, and would take $5 million instead to be in LA, like, it would be Kyrie. But even he, like, there was nothing in his career that indicated, like, yeah, I'm just gonna take like the $5 million. Like, he never tried to take the player option or the qualifying offer or something as a real. Like, he clearly cares about money. I mean, he was demanding a trade because the Nets didn't want to extend him, and
right.
He wanted to get the most possible money. So,
and it sounds like Dallas is willing to pay him too. So
and all the reports coming out of the combine were that basically every other agent in front office thinks that Kyrie is getting the max from, the Mavs. And so, I mean, that sort of does lend itself, I guess, a little bit more to your point, of like, is this a LeBron sort of like leverage generation attempt? Because like, if there's one thing that, we can take away from LeBron's actions since the end of the season, it's that, no matter how close you or I think they are to, a title or to sort of the optimal version of this current roster number that they can get to. Like, I think I also agree that running it back is probably their best option. But, you know, I just think that it's from him sort of doing the like, oh, you know, I may retire. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about it. I'm really tired. I may just hang it up, despite me spending the last 2 years talking about how I want to play with my son, who's going to USC. Like, I might just retire, and then it's
no,
like
he's transferring to SMU in Dallas. Actually, I've heard.
Well, exactly, and then that's the whole thing. It's like, you're going to tell me that LeBron is gonna so the most feasible way for him to get to the Mavs is it's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, the Mavs, they can't trade for him. The Lakers are just going to buy him out of the 2-year $90 million extension that has not kicked in yet, and then he's going to take the minimum from the Mavericks. LeBron is going to take the minimum from the Mavericks and leave his son, who went to USC, so that famously, you know, very close to Staples Center, actually, or the artist formerly known as Staples Center, you know, the Crypt. LeBron, it's just like, none of this is feasible or realistic in any way, and it just feels like a very transparent, like, I just don't like the way that things ended, and so I would like you to shake things up. But, you know, on top of all this, if the Lakers are going after Kyrie, and if they were really going to bring him in, it's probably in a sign and trade, and then in that case you're hard capped. And so it's just like, it's LeBron, it's a higher class version of the Russell Westbrook problem, where it's, you know, you have these 3 really high paid guys, and then it's a bunch of like washed vets on the minimum around them.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, and like, at least in this scenario, you would be able to keep Austin Reeves, who we all agree has become a very good young player.
I don't think they can give Kyrie the max and keep Austin Reeves. I think they can give Kyrie like a fair amount and keep Austin Reeves. I don't think that they can get all the way up to his max. Yeah,
because a team, all a team has to do is give him that 4-100, which is like, because of the arenas rule, they can match up to that. If the Lakers are able to actually match that offer sheet. Yeah, I mean, you might be right. I'm not even sure if it would be legal to do a sign and trade and then kind of figure that out, unless it was like you guaranteed Malik Beasley's money. I think you might be able to figure out, but you know, it's hard to get to that Kyrie number.
Yeah, I'm not a cap genius. I think it would be very, very difficult at the very least, if not impossible.
Once again, it would be, but then again, even in this like good scenario in comparison, quote unquote, you're an Anthony Davis or a LeBron James injury away, which happens every year, by the way. For me, in the exact same scenario that you have been, and as great as Kyrie is as a second or third guy on a team, he's never been able to carry a team. Never. Like, he's always, when he wins, he has won on, like, when they won on regular season games on the Celtics, that team is really good. When they won regular season games in Cleveland, that team had LeBron. Like, he had KD in Brooklyn. Like, he's not going to carry a team to 40 wins with just Austin Reeves and then one of, you know, LeBron and AD in terms of injuries and age for LeBron. Like, I don't know how many games every year that those guys are going to play. And then you're like you said, the 4 through 15 is just going to be minimum guys, and like, hope Max Christie's good, I guess. Like, there's
LeBron's texting Melo. He's like, "You sure about that retirement?" Like,
he's like, Tristan, can you run it back one more? Run it back.
Yeah, no, Tristan Thompson's coming back in that scenario. Like, the Jokic stopper, you need him to lock down to, you know.
J.R. Smith, get him out of retirement. 2016 Cavs all over again.
Is J.R. Smith's scholarship up? He may have used up his college eligibility. He may be ready to come back for an NBA, you know, return.
Yeah, exactly. So we are now reaching a point with this shit where it's just, it's kind of laughable, but once again, it is a stars league. And I think that I didn't read that article by Jovan, but I believe that in the article, is it Jovan? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to save you.
Apologies to Jovan. I apologize. But in Jovan's article, he said, I did see the quote that it said improbable but not impossible or something, or highly unlikely but not impossible, because at the end of the day, we know it is a stars league, right? Like, if LeBron wants to go somewhere and the Lakers and him can't see eye to eye on something, eventually he will end up somewhere else. That's just how it happens, whether it's now or in 3 months from now or whatever. That is kind of how these things happen. Having said that, I said this earlier, and I know Sam's cooking up a war crime, and I want to see what this war crime looks like in the trade machine.
For those of you on the stream, the amount that he's been stroking his chin like a supervillain while on the trade machine is truly disturbing. Like,
he's cooking it up, and he just has the do we deserve destruction thought going through his head as he's cooking
I saw him
up
covering his mouth at one point. I don't even know. I don't want to know all the different browser tabs you have open. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, you guys don't know, but I'm like Slim Pickens. I'm literally riding on the War Machine missile and like doing the yeehaw like, as it like explodes down behind. This is gross, but I'll let you guys finish your thoughts.
Okay,
before we
but
get to that.
I just want to say before we get to that, LeBron is very aware of the way that people talk about him. He is aware of, he's basically the Taylor Swift of the NBA. You know, he cares a lot about his legacy. And, you know, he has a very...
He's got a new problematic flame that the internet wants him to leave alone.
They broke up today. You know,
I know. I saw that. Unions work. I saw it. That was actually how I found out. Was Sam's tweet they had broken up.
It's true.
Unions
Number one
work.
Entertainment reporter Sam Sheehan.
Yeah, that's true. I've been watching this. You know, as someone who's kind of, you know, I've been Taylor adjacent for a while now, and I feel like it's my turn to shine. You know, Matt Healy a little bit too problematic, but how about a guy who said some? Ask Troll if there's some things if we're behind the Patreon wall a couple of times on our podcast before I say some things. So, you know, that might be the right level of problematic.
Exactly.
Yeah. Your podcast appearances where you said horrible things, or at least behind a paywall. So like
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And mostly my targets are the Dallas Mavericks front office, which
I was going to say,
you know, really,
or the Miami Heat connections to certain, you know,
organizations.
things.
Let's say, yeah, let's just say the organizations. Leave it at that.
Punching up with Sam Sheehan.
Yeah, I punch up. Yeah, that's the big difference.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ, how do we pivot off of that? Our long national nightmare is over. The Swifties can breathe and be in peace again.
I feel better. I honestly, huge weight lifted off my shoulder today as someone who, you know, knows who the 1975 is. But like LeBron cares a lot about the way that people perceive him in the public eye. He's doing Taco Tuesday commercials, you know, all that stuff. So yeah, he's trying to free up the thing that he tried to trademark, you know, for the people.
Oh, I didn't know he trademarked that.
He tried to trademark it like 2 years ago when he was doing all this Instagram stuff. There's a New York Times story on his attempts to trademark the phrase Taco Tuesday, and now he's like doing the like Taco Tuesday should be for the people.
Yeah.
I couldn't make money on it.
It's
so
like
no
a
one
succession
should.
plot. He's like, no, this should not be patented anymore because I want to patent it.
Yeah. What the fuck?
That's incredible.
So
LeBron's done a lot of good. I really enjoy watching him play basketball, but he's
a hilarious
thing
figure.
sometimes.
Yeah, he's a hilarious.
Objectively, a very, very funny person. Usually not intentionally.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But one of the things that I thought about was, can you imagine? First off, let's put it out there. LeBron's never actually been traded. Like, I think one of the moves to Miami or Cleveland, one of the other was a sign and trade.
Yeah, it was a sign and trade to Miami. I remember that.
Sure.
Yeah, they got
but
like
he
a draft
wasn't,
pick back or something.
He wasn't really ever traded in his career. And that would be a big deal. Like, I mean, there's a reason why we're 23 minutes into a podcast talking about fucking a trade that will probably never happen. The idea that LeBron could ever be traded is massive. He's arguably the greatest player of all time. He cares a lot about this shit. And in 20 years from now, if we're airing his Last Dance documentary and they're like, oh yeah, remember when he was at the end of his career when he was traded for Josh Green, Jaden Hardy, and the 10th pick in the draft and Davis Bertans' contract? Like, people would be like, what the fuck? Like, LeBron would care about that. Like, I think that if LeBron got traded, he would want, first off, it's hard to just gauge LeBron's trade value in general because
It's one of the weirder ones to try and figure out how much would he be worth at age 38, like on this contract, like to the it's very strange.
Probably his last 2 years in the NBA, or at least his last 2 serviceable years in the NBA before. I mean, you never want to question LeBron because he could just do the Tom Brady thing and be pretty good until he's 45. But I think it does sound like his career's at a very minimum winding down. I think if you're trading for him, it's going to be because a guy like Cuban trading for him makes a lot of sense to me, because it's like you're going to sell a lot of tickets and jerseys and you're going to be in the public eye and it's going to be like a huge business deal. Like people will really care and you'll generate a ton of revenue for a year or two. But like the Mavericks asset base is just like basically nothing right now. Like, I mean, like they traded Dorian Finney-Smith, who was their best trade chip, quote unquote. I like Josh Green. He's a nice young player, but he's also about to get extended and we don't really know what he is yet. Jaden Hardy was one of my favorite late first, early second round flyers last year, and he had a very impressive rookie year, but like he's probably a bench guard, maybe fringe starter type guy. I don't really think he's going to be the center of any star packages. And then the 10th pick in a very good draft is awesome, but that probably gets you either an upside swing or a role player. And I have a hard time believing that like that can be the center of any trade package for LeBron James, even if you only get 2 years of LeBron James. Like it would, like in theory, I guess it would only be a one-team market if LeBron said trade me there, because the Lakers, as we've said before, the Lakers do care about, in the same way that LeBron cares about his image, the Lakers care about the way that they treat stars in their image, because they're one of the few teams that actually gets free agents.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of a big deal to them. Like that's how they've won their last few championships, in terms of like getting stars, building that way, as opposed to like building through the draft or whatever, even though they're really good at drafting. We've talked about that. But like, so I guess that's where I'm kind of stuck with this, where like, I can't imagine this ever happening, by the way. But then again, you never know what the fuck to expect in the NBA. But like, I can't gauge LeBron's trade value. 2, I feel like there's no way he could get traded for so little. And then 3, like I just can't imagine a scenario in which LeBron James is quote unquote on the trade block, and then that's what they get back. And there's not a team that offers like something way more enticing, and the Lakers at least have to like talk to LeBron about it and like have a meeting. As Bill Simmons
I mean,
say.
does your opinion on the Mavs assets change if you find out they also have their 2029 first round pick?
Ooh, Sam probably would, because Sam's like, get me every far out. Sam's been saying for a while.
I mean, like that
far out Mavericks.
That's
pick.
the one that actually is interesting to me like in these hypothetical discussions, because it's like, Luka's probably gone by then. Surely LeBron is not going to be playing in 2029.
Something that's kind of deceiving, because you've probably heard that the Mavericks only have their 2026 first round pick available for trade. And that's true as a straight up move. But they actually have a ton of, it's more a factor of them trading the 2029 pick because they thought they were giving this year's pick this year. So,
right.
Like, we'll send the odd numbered year and then we'll have 2 first. But then they fucked it up and had the tank. So that screwed everything up. So now they only have the 2026 pick because of the the Stepien rule and everything.
And they could trade the 2024 pick. Oh no, they can't, because the Knicks have it.
Yes, the 2024 pick goes to the Knicks. So they can't trade 2025 because that's Stepien rule. That's next to it. 2026 they can trade. 2027 they can't trade because the Stepien rule if they trade the 20.
Well, they already traded 2027.
Did they? I didn't see that.
In the Kyrie deal. Yeah, it was Dorian Finney-Smith.
That's why I think 2029 is available.
Spencer Dinwiddie in 2027, I believe.
It says 2029 on the future drafts detail. Do I have that wrong?
Was that a 2029 first they said? I thought it was 2027.
Maybe this is wrong. Maybe what is this?
I was just going off of my friend Kirk Henderson, who runs Mavs Moneyball.
He knows.
Saying that
he would know.
He would know.
Yeah.
Was the
unless there was like a conditional, was that like unless there was some sort of conditional?
No, it was unprotected.
Okay.
No, you're right. It was a 2029 first round pick unprotected was traded.
All right. Well, see, you guys were way too nice to Kirk. He didn't know anything.
Kirk, if you're listening, brother, change that.
Yeah, I would say you've got this. But that could have been something where like it was conditional on where they finished and the fact that it gave up. Like maybe it was a 2027 to start, and then if they gave up their 2024 pick, it was a 2029. Whatever. Point is, they actually have a lot of picks they can swap too.
Sure.
So that's a way to get a lot of equity involved too.
Those swaps, baby.
Those swaps. So anyway, you're looking at this. All the things you guys just said, disgusting. This is probably the closest I can come to something that's kind of fair. And
I actually respect that you figured out a way to get a third team in here to actually like attempt, because the two team trades in this are just atrocious. Like,
yeah, I mean they're all pretty bad, but I mean we didn't touch the other side. I kind of jumped the gun here and went ahead and put Draymond and involved Draymond in this because this is. That's the rumor, right? That like Draymond and LeBron are best friends.
Sure.
KOC is tweeting old Bill Simmons links, where he's saying, do you think Draymond's going to be on the Mavericks next year? Bill just took a giant L with the Kevin Young thing.
He's back though.
But he was right on the zombie heat. So
I mean that means he's due. It's like first round pick. He can only get every other prediction right. It's
exactly.
So
exactly.
Let me just take a step back, okay? You're the Los Angeles Lakers, okay? And if you are analyzing this with Terminator brain, which I don't think is something that Genie Bus and maybe some of the Lakers brain trust, I don't think this is how they think, but you were pretty lucky to get to the conference finals this year, and then you got kind of dispatched by the Nuggets. Now we're in all the games, but you still got swept.
Close sweep. Come on. Net Celtics all over again.
You're right. Close sweep. Is it the worst thing in the world to send out LeBron James, build around Anthony Davis and your young team, take one dead contract in Davis Bertans, Reggie Bullock, who could be all right, a good young player in Josh Green, who's got one more year left, and then you're going to have his restricted free agent rights, and then the number 10 pick in the draft, one first round pick, and two
2027
swaps. Yeah,
and the two
2026 or 2027, whichever one you want, and then swaps for the rest.
You know what? You know what's funny is that first off, this is only in the scenario. It's just like every time I say with Joel Embiid, whenever anyone brings up trading him, Sixers fans, I'm like, if he comes to you and says, "Hey, trade me, I want out," then you have to readdress it and change your calculus. You're not trading LeBron James just to trade LeBron James. Like, that's just not going to happen. Even just like you don't want to be the team that traded LeBron James. So if LeBron goes to them and says that, then it's a different conversation.
So that's a very important part of all this, is that if this happens, it is almost entirely player driven. Like the Warriors aren't trading Draymond Green for fucking Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, and a pick swap.
Sure.
They're doing that if they need to get off money and they have and they need guys who can play in return. And Draymond Green says, trade me or I'm opting out, and you're losing all of this functional cap space,
Right.
Like, so that is
the Warriors never let salary expire. They're like, all right, well, just give us whoever.
Keep it going, baby.
Whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
That was your big mistake, was you didn't get D'Lo sign and trade in as part of this 3-team deal, so they could have keep their cap space alive again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, then trade him for OG Anunoby.
I think they probably had their fill of the D'Lo experience.
Every team has.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was it the 1 or 2 years he was on the team, like their bad season, basically?
Well, he was only on the team for half a season.
Yeah, no, it wasn't 1 or 2 years. It was like 30 games.
Yeah.
Really?
And Steph got hurt, and they were already bad, and then Steph got hurt like a week into the season, and they were terrible for the rest. And that was when they got James Wiseman in the draft, so they know what they're doing. Yeah,
so let me make
worth the tank.
So let me make the case. You're getting a far out pick, and 2 swaps for a team that's going to have Draymond Green, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Luka Doncic, who expires in 2 years. That's not a bad bet to make on the Hindenburg happening to a team.
Yeah. And by the way,
this could be your Nets Celtics swap. Like, that's kind of how I think of it, to be honest. Like, I actually think the Mavs have plenty to get this done if they're not squeamish about putting those picks on the table. And if I were the Lakers, I'd kind of want to bet on that because you're really talking about maybe 1 to maybe 2 years. And Anthony Davis is young enough. You still got, well, I mean, I guess it depends on his health, but like, you got like 4 years left of him. And like, I don't know, like the ceiling probably isn't necessarily there the way it was for LeBron James, but like a lot, Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis were doing a lot of the heavy lifting. I mean, like LeBron was obviously a huge part of it, but like you're still probably a playoff team if you trade LeBron James for a package like this. And then you have draft capital to add stuff.
I was going to say, can I somehow not take on the Bertans contract and get an expiring instead so that I can like get cap space? I feel like that's like a thing that they could do. Like, and the Lakers get free agents, like, as we know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bad news with this.
Yeah, I don't think the Mavs have a lot of expirings, do they? Or
they don't. No, you're right. Yeah, that's why they have a road to cap space if Kyrie walks.
It's Reggie Bullock, which is and I almost sent him to the Warriors instead because the Warriors are going to want that too.
Well, but you know that the Lakers like their former Lakers, and so you're like, okay, well, this is how we sweeten the pot for them, as we give them Lakers legend for 30 games, Reggie Bullock.
Reggie Bullock,
who forgot how to shoot when he was here. But
let's go.
But look, but you see, the other thing though you've got to remember is like, the cap thing kind of hangs over all of this. So if you make a trade like that, you're kind of getting out of the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not in a situation like, for example, if the Warriors re-sign Draymond Green, what are they gonna do? They can't. Somebody's like walking, and like I feel like if you trade, you at least get a pick swap for Draymond Green leaving, and then you have some dead money you can kind of shuffle around, or like you could stretch both those guys. And, your money, you could cut your bill by like $30 million and then you at least got something for Draymond Green instead of him just walking. Like there's the financial realities of the new CBA actually make this a little bit more tenable once I got in there than I kind of thought it was. Like, it was very silly and stupid, but if the players really wanted it, the front offices could do this, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, for a relatively fair package for everybody.
You get the 10th and 17th pick and the Lakers scouting department. Probably a decent chance the Lakers hit on one of those picks. Although, will it really matter if you don't have LeBron James on your team anymore? Probably, yeah.
But you're not going to have LeBron James on your team anymore in like a year and a half. He's really slowing down. I don't know. I get that the sticker shock of like LeBron James being traded for Davis Bertans is pretty brutal. Just practically speaking, I mean, look, you got a title.
I see Harrison's mind is working over there.
Yeah,
changing a little bit.
Yeah.
Harrison letting him
no, it's not because it's not because I think Sam. I actually do think you made better points than I expected you to. I honestly
it's a great pitch.
I thought that this was going to be like complete just trolling, just like the Lakers.
Sam has ruined the Lakers.
They're getting off this like senior citizens contract in exchange for young up and comer Davis Bertans.
Also,
I don't.
He changes the pronunciation of his name. Look at how many. You see Duncan Robinson in the playoffs. Look at Davey Bertans over here.
Yeah, amazing. Is it expiring next year? Those are going to be valuable again.
That's
true. They got to sell Darvin Ham. They're like, hey, this is like a more expensive Matt Ryan. You're going to love him. It's just.
Running off Matt Ryan.
It's gonna be great.
Anthony Davis with spacing. Can LeBron James stretch the floor the way Davis Bertans can?
Very good point. It's a great point.
All we've seen from the Heat's run is that you need to assemble the worst team on paper possible, but with like enough shooting variance that they can go off in any 16 game stretch potentially and make you look like the best team of all time.
So great. True. What's won game 2 last night? Kevin Love being inserted into the starting lineup. Kevin Love, who was bought out, which means he's a worse player than Davis Bertans, who was not bought out.
As a contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they both
So
they
that-
basically
that's what
do
that
the same
tells me.
thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So
yeah, no,
all right.
so I'm still obviously not for this, just because I think that the window is still open enough for the Lakers with a training camp. You're bringing back this group, like they have a whole, off-season training camp, whatever, to gel together. They don't spend 50 games of the season just playing with, a roster that didn't make sense when it was constructed, never made sense throughout the season. As soon as they're like, oh, Pat Bev's our small forward, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is screwed till the trade deadline or until they, make some moves or whatever. They don't spend 50 games with LeBron and AD having to kill themselves just to keep the team from completely drowning in the playoff race, and then they don't have to go like, whatever it was, like 21 and what, like 21 and 8 or whatever it was down the stretch just to get the 8 seed. I think that potentially you end up with a scenario where LeBron and AD have more gas left in the tank when you get to the playoffs. You have another year of growth from Austin Reeves. You see what you can do at the trade deadline, whether that's, if you re-sign D'Lo, is that using one of those picks to flip D'Lo maybe into Kyrie? Or like, you see if you can make some moves at the trade deadline to augment it. I still think that that's a better scenario for them, where you take just sort of your puncher's chance at a championship and making a run, and you run that back and you give, these two stars another chance to kind of do it. But I am more open to it just in the sense of like, if LeBron does come and say that, hey, I would like to be traded, there is a chance the Lakers grant that because of the stuff that we've talked about before. We talked about it back when we were doing the Anthony Davis trade machine war crimes. Like,
which have aged horribly.
Yeah. If
Because he
stars
finally
come to
got
the
healthy.
Lakers, yeah, like if stars come to the Lakers, like they generally will try to, sort of help them out, especially in a situation like LeBron. Like, obviously the famous counterexample is Kobe was like, send me to Pluto or literally anywhere else. I don't want to be here. And they're like, no, you're young and good. Like, we're keeping you. But, if it's LeBron sort of on the farewell, he's going to be on his farewell tour soon anyway. Maybe they grant it just to kind of do him a solid if the Mavs are willing to throw in that many swaps and that many things where the Lakers can really, Rob can really sell Genie. Like, this is how we build for the future. But I can't see them trading LeBron. It's just like, and it also for that package, it's just, again, we can say that like, oh, the swaps, you're betting on the other team's failure, you're getting these far out down the line picks. Like, fans may attempt to burn down Crypto.com Arena if they trade LeBron for like Davis Bertans. And
you didn't even put Jaden Hardy in the trade, dude.
Well, I mean, like, look, there's ways to expand.
He's trying to make it fair for the Mavs, okay, Trill? Yeah. It's I mean, they can't give up their young core of both Jaden Hardy and
Green. I saw.
Yes,
you said Mavs fans saw that, so
yeah. I mean, here's another adjustment. Okay, just one I thought of off the top of my head. Real quick, I'm trying it. But how about Damian Lillard going back to the Lakers? That poo-poo platter goes to the Blazers, and the Blazers are the ones who end up with the picks.
Wait, what? Sorry, I started laughing when you said Dame to the Lakers, and I didn't catch the rest.
Yeah,
of it.
so LeBron out, Dame in for Lakers.
I'm so over Dame trades, but
so instead of the Lakers getting their that gross package of like Davis Bertans, Reggie Bullock, Josh Green, and then like a shitload of pick swaps and one true pick coming in, that all goes to Portland instead.
Yeah.
So. And that's the trade.
I kind of think that I guess Dame would say trade me to one of these teams too. That's the thing that I always forget about with these trades is like, oh right, the front offices are going to work with the stars and they're going to get them to where they want to go because they have great relationships and they want to treat their stars well. And because my first thought was, well, the Sixers would just offer Tyrese Maxey and blow that offer away. But if he doesn't want to come to Philly, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, he wants to play with the real best big man in the league, Anthony Davis.
True. Yeah. Two-way big man. Yeah. Better than Jokic and Embiid combined, some say.
Well, but I mean,
at least he's been past the fucking second round anyway.
Well, I guess that's the thing is it's all player driven. You know what I'm saying? Like Kevin Durant was never going anywhere but the Suns, but the Suns still, got their best package together. You know what I'm saying? And that might have been the best package anyway. But like, I just mean, it doesn't have to be that stuff coming back. It could be some other star going. It could be, Trae Young. It could be like going, that package going.
They are interested,
and that's what I'm saying. Like,
they've had internal discussions.
that's the thing about this offseason and why it's the sloppy summer. Trill and I have been posted. This is the sloppy summer, the summer of slop. There are so many guys who are like feasibly available right now, and the CBA is like fucking with everyone. Everyone's kind of like,
and they're getting paid so much that it actually hurts their trade value. Like 2 years ago, guys were like, "Who gives a fuck?" Well, even last offseason, yeah, Rudy Gobert makes $40 million a year. Who cares? Throw in all these picks. Now teams are going to be like, "Wait a minute, do we really want to pay Trae Young or Bradley Beal or whoever becomes available?" Like guys that are like on the borderline of all NBA, like for Beal even worse. Like, are we really going to pay them $42 million a year or whatever? Like, we're not giving up that much. Like, I actually think outside of let's put this aside. Outside of like if one of the 10 best players in the NBA becomes available, like when Kevin Durant became available, I think we're past the insane haul for non-top 10 player whenever they hit the trade market now. Because teams are just going to – the market is going to reset, and the teams are going to realize, why the fuck are we giving up all these picks for like the 24th best player in the NBA? So
there's just the reality that a lot of the teams that had that stuff to trade have given it away already.
Yeah,
there's like,
exactly.
There's two teams with there's the Thunder have, a bunch of stuff to trade, and then the Spurs have a bunch of stuff to trade. And it's going to be just like those two teams alternating on draft night at some point, like with the way that these like kind of star trades have been going. Like, I'm sure I'm forgetting other teams that actually do have some assets, but for the most part, they're, the teams that we're going to go, quote unquote, big game hunting, the Lakers have like one tradable first round pick, I guess two if you include their one upcoming on draft night. As of right now, I think they might be able to move 2030 this summer as well.
No, because didn't they trade 2027?
Yeah.
So then you can't trade 29 and 30. You can't trade 29 and 30 though because of the Stepien rule.
Oh, true. Yeah. So I guess they would have 2 years. Yeah, you're right. So. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these teams, though, that would be buyers for guys like that, they just don't have stuff to trade, and so that's naturally going to reset the market because if only a couple teams have, these massive Rudy Gobert-type packages to offer, and they're not interested in, your Bradley Beals, your Dames, or whatever, like, that's going to naturally reset the market because these teams aren't just going to be like, well, you can't give us 7 first-round picks or whatever it is, so we're just going to sit on our hands and let this situation continue to deteriorate and get nothing when this guy leaves or, whatever it may be.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. I mean, we're definitely going to see at least a shift. So two things.
Starting with LeBron for Davis Bertans.
Yes, exactly. Davey Bertans.
Straight up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the deal of the summer.
But by the way, Trill, I also put a second trade in the slide deck.
Right,
past the next one. If you're
all right,
I like that he makes Trill. That's a smart move of you being forced to approve these before.
Yeah, I was gonna say we let him run through
screen share.
That's an old rule from back during the trade deadline when I was trying to run Celtics propaganda and he was vetoing me. I'm just saying, by the way, it works.
All right, so for anyone who's listening, this is Trae Young to the Lakers, LeBron and Draymond to the Mavericks, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Josh Green to the Warriors, Davis Bertans, Reggie Bullock, and $5 million in Maxi Kleber to the Hawks.
Yeah.
And the Hawks are getting all the picks, I assume, from the Mavericks.
Well, the Warriors are getting one of the swaps. But then
I need to know what picks are the Hawks getting for giving up Trae Young for this.
Yeah,
they're getting the 20. They're getting the same.
They don't even get Jaden Hardy either. I don't understand. How is Jaden Hardy not included?
They can put Jaden Hardy in there. Yeah, whatever. I left him. He can go. He's in the trade now. It's fine.
This is so funny.
I look, if you're the Hawks, I'm just saying you're getting a hard reset.
This is insane, dude.
You get DeJounte Murray. You've got.
If there's one thing owners' kids with too much power love, it's like trading away their best player for guys that they wouldn't want to draft in fantasy.
Especially in Atlanta, a team that's the Trae Young probably pretty low approval in Atlanta. He's definitely not their most marketable star.
Yeah, no, Hawks fans famously not big on Trae Young. They're like, oh, well, you didn't tell us we could get Reggie Bullock for him. Like,
yeah, exactly. They didn't know that Maxi Kleber was available. They're like, hey, we got Maxi.
If this trade got made, there would
Tyrese.
be someone like Bill Simmons would say on the next podcast, "Are we sure the Hawks didn't get that?"
Yes.
There's actually a good chance that would happen, and
it would be him or Russillo. One of them would do it, and then the other one would like try to maybe talk them down, and then end up agreeing.
Yeah. And I thought that I was insane for saying I wouldn't trade Tyrese Maxey for Trae Young, but they would be like, "Are we sure? Are we sure?" I'm trying to think. Well, they said that they would rather have Derek White than Trae Young on the podcast. Who else did they say they would?
Bill, I mean, look, I love where you're going with this, Bill. Can I say something? Maxi Kleber's been in a lot of big games.
International.
And look,
NBA.
I mean, I don't want the guys to like pull this out of context and make it sound like I'm saying, Maxi Kleber's better than Trae Young. But he's been in a lot of big games. That's a mature adult that you have in the room with you. I totally agree. I've always liked it.
I mean, if you combine Bertans and Bullock, you sort of have Trae's shooting, and then Maxi Kleber's like better defense. So I think if you just if you could Frankenstein these guys into one player,
it would be great.
That's maybe better. Yeah.
That's actually the new market inefficiency, is smashing two players into making them into one human being.
Yeah.
Maury's looking into it right now. He's working with Elon Musk on a new brain chip.
Elizabeth Holmes's imprisonment set us back on that front,
The infusion.
Just another reason Jordan Poole fell apart in the playoffs.
All right, so
the number one courtside baddie.
So I do want to say there is a bit of a. I can't believe we're going almost an hour on this. This is incredible. But
I just, you want to know what's sad? I just did an hour podcast on this before.
Let's go.
And I've used mostly different thoughts. So
incredible. So I just want to say the one thing that no one's really talking about whenever we talk about and look, they're talented enough that it probably wouldn't matter. But Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Draymond Green, and LeBron James is like, if I were building a team and they were like, you can have any four guys that have made like an all-star team recently or whatever, accolades, that would be about the weirdest collection of talent I could imagine. LeBron, who thrives with shooting and spacing around him. Luka, who doesn't play off ball. LeBron, who finally decided to play off ball recently. Kyrie plays
and only because he needed his foot amputated. That was
the main part of it.
Yeah.
LeBron, who isn't maximized off the ball. Luka, who isn't maximized off the ball. Draymond Green, who has operated his entire career with the greatest spacing in the history of the NBA on offense. Once again, talented enough that I think you could probably make it work. But I don't think that is adding up to the level of talent that those guys all individually have as a collective, is what I'll say.
There's only one man who could coach this team.
Jason Kidd?
It's ball don't stop.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That would dynasty.
I don't know if they have enough. He would say Jaden Hardy's off limits.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
They also got to get Draymond out of there. He doesn't have a bag.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
he would
true.
say untouchable.
Can you flip him for I don't know, like Colin Sexton or something?
No, we're getting
Utah. Get him on the phone.
Getting Jaylen Brown in there. Get his going.
Will says they just need Ben Simmons to tie it all together, and I think that's a great idea.
True. Mm-hmm.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, is Ben Simmons also willing to take a buyout and join the Mavs for the minimum? What if every star in the NBA this summer just decides to take a buyout and join the Mavs for the minimum, to play with Kyrie?
As Sam texted me earlier, we would have to apologize to Mark Cuban and Nico Harrison for not being familiar with their game.
Yeah, I have to post the Shaq meme. I owe you an apology.
Mark Cuban is just into crypto because he can stash it online offshore, and then he's just like, "Hey, LeBron, I accidentally left this laptop open with my password and username logged in on FTX, one that is still operating, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Crypto.com.
The other arena."
Yeah, he's like, I just left this open. You know, if somebody were to transfer it to their own account, that would be totally untraceable, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy how that would work. Just give me my name. My name is Sam Bankrun Fraud. That's my password. And you just log in there and get that going. I guess my whole thing with this. So like everyone else, I laughed. It was like very funny that Kyrie did this because my initial reaction was like you guys said is I thought this was kind of a double blind. Like I thought this was LeBron being like, "Hey, I need some leverage. Like pretend like I'm thinking about leaving." And like Kyrie is really this is them both trying to get Kyrie to the Lakers. I think more likely than not. If like that was my first reaction. However, that said, the threat there is plausible enough. I guess you know that.
Well, LeBron's under contract for at least one more year.
Yeah, but like, what you think LeBron won't like sit out a year? Like,
but Trill, what if he retires? And then famously, when you retire, you're a free agent after that. You know, it's just.
Works. It's true. He just comes back. He sits out for a whole year, retires.
No, I think you can actually just get out of your contract. You're just like, I declare retirement, and then you're like, I am unretiring and signing with the Mavs.
Who did
that? True?
Somebody did that.
No, that's not true.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it isn't.
No, but
teams keep your bird rights. Yeah.
But it just very, I don't know. I think
there have been cases where guys have retired and like the team just like sort of waves them at the end, or that's like so they can come back when they decide that they want to unretire. Like I think that happened with Brandon Roy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And the Blazers sent him to the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Or they let him sign with the Timberwolves.
So it is possible, but the team still has to cooperate. And like, if LeBron's like, okay,
I'm not helping
you guys, I'm going to retire. They're not going to be like, oh, well, you know what? We're just going to send you where you want to go to play with Bronny in a year. Like,
yeah. Okay. So
I guess maybe if he like retired and just sat out for the year and just like he declined the team option or the player option as part of the retirement. Maybe. Yeah. I guess he could just sit out for a year.
I guess the other thing here is like, I just, if you're the Lakers, I don't know what the pitch meetings were like, but it's not like LeBron. It's not like they were signing LeBron not knowing that this is how he operates. Like probably, they probably thought he wouldn't last long enough for them to have to deal with this problem, but this is literally how LeBron James is.
He got extended. It was 5 years ago he signed with the fucking Lakers.
He's got extended twice.
Yeah. I was going to say, he's been with the Lakers plenty long. Like, it's not like it's not.
But
he's going to go down as more of a Laker than a Cav, it's when it's all said and done. Like
that might be part of the understanding with the extensions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Lakers were in a pretty fucking dire straits when that was going on. And that kind of kept things alive. And that might have been part of the handshake deal. Like, hey, when I ask out, you're doing what I tell you to. Like,
and that's totally possible. And they've had a really mostly, other than like, there was a little bit of turbulence, I would say, like the last like year or so until the trade deadline, like between them and Klutch, especially after the Russ trade, when just like everybody was anonymously pointing the finger and being like, no, he wanted to bring Russ in, And there was that relationship was not the most functional at that point, but for the most part, they've worked with LeBron, they've worked with his agency, like, they're very well maybe like and they really appreciate him too. I've been saying going back since 2020 that like just for the fact that like he came in and made that title possible, he could have retired then and he would have gotten his jersey retired. Lakers fans were because you would see people talking about how many rings does LeBron need to win to get jersey retirement. It's like it's done. Like that's happening. He won the title. That's
sure.
That discussion is over. They have an appreciation for him, and so if he really did just want to go somewhere else, I mean maybe they would grant that. I just have a hard time believing that this is like the scenario where that happens based on sort of how complicated it would be, like how just like unappealing the package coming back is for him from the Mavs mostly, because I don't, Sam, like I don't actually buy that the Mavs would like throw in all those pick swaps. Like they'd be like, we'll give you we'll
one
give you
pick,
Jaden Hardy,
the 10th pick.
And yeah.
I mean, if they do that, they're fucked. like they're in the worst situation in the NBA. Like this is very tenuous for them. Like if Nico Harrison and Mark Cuban can somehow pull this off to get another player on the Mavs besides Kyrie, and because this is all still in flux. If this falls apart, Kyrie could just leave. And then you just have Luka Doncic.
I don't think he is though. I think they're just gonna max him. Like I just don't believe. Yeah, like or they're gonna come close, but maybe not.
but here's the thing: is like you're trapped as a team. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
whether or not it happens is kind of irrelevant. It's like these players have a lot of leverage right now, just because of like the CBA, the fact that a couple of them are hitting free agency, and the Mavs just really fucked themselves with this Jalen Brunson thing, where they just don't have. I mean, if they want to do it one more time, I suppose they could, but you'd think they'd learn the lesson about trying to be a little too cute and a little too clever. Like when a player gives you the out, you go for it, like, because I just think the downside is so unspeakably horrible. They're like a season away from Luka asking out in a worst case scenario. And that's like pretty plausible. I don't know. Luka Doncic, New York Knicks in 2025 is going to go insane though, for real.
I mean, you've called it. Sam's called this like.
You called it. I think the day of the trade deadline.
Before.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think it was the beginning of this year.
I was gonna say, that was like the beginning of the year. Sam was.
Yeah,
like,
I just remember the speed run.
Trade
change.
Trade run. Yeah, that was.
It was.
Do you guys want to hear my galaxy brain theory on all of this?
Absolutely.
Now that we're an hour in, like I mentioned this on our Lakers Launch podcast earlier, but I was saying we were trying to come up with like, okay, what's like the next leak, because we know this isn't going to get more sane. Leading up to July 1st. Like there's going to be, this was the idea that they're like, okay, this is like the normal leak. We're going to put this out there. And then, when this doesn't work, like the negotiation is going to get more kind of intense and whatever. My galaxy brain theory is Kyrie leaked this to make KD jealous that he's trying to recruit LeBron instead of him. And so that KD will be like, no, we got to go after Kyrie in a sign and trade for Chris Paul and give him the full max and create an extra really option for himself.
I thought you were going to say like LeBron's going to shoot Space Jam 3 in Waco or something. I didn't know that was
Texas.
No, LeBron's actually, he's producing a Friday Night Lights like basketball version, like in Texas. Yeah.
Well, it's literal Space Jam because Elon Musk, that's where he has SpaceX. So in Texas, and they're just they launches everyone into.
Kyrie and LeBron are moving to Austin together, and they're going to start their stand-up careers at Joe Rogan's Don't Cancel Me Club.
I'm just saying, I think if I had to pick a presidential nominee that Kyrie would be voting for, I think he would vote for Robert Kennedy, and he was on the Elon Spaces earlier today. So he's got options. I'm just saying,
he would vote for Robert Kennedy thinking it was JFK Jr.
Yeah. I knew this guy was against vaccines. Thank God.
He's been sending me messages.
I think, I don't know. I think it's plausible. Again, Occam's razor. It's probably just the LeBron and Kyrie trying to get Kyrie to LA, if I had to guess.
Yes.
And the idea there being like a Rui Hachimura double sign and trade or something like insane like that, with something else, like Malik Beasley going and Rui Hachimura going back to the Mavericks or something. I don't know.
No, yeah, that's new. It used to be it was Kendrick Nunn, Russell Westbrook, whatever were like in the like one of the first was like all reliable. This year it's the 29 first, it's Malik Beasley and it's Mo Bamba, non-guaranteed contract. And that's how the Lakers are getting that next star.
Yep.
Yo, low key, I think Mo Bamba could kind of cook for the Mavericks, though.
All right, Mo Bamba resurgence.
Yeah.
First off,
he's like Christian Wood that plays less. It's.
I was gonna say, hey, does Christian Wood have a rap song named after him?
That's
no.
Sure,
so
no.
He's
exactly
objectively a lot less cool.
Yeah. And if the Lakers couldn't revitalize Mo Bamba's career, I'm genuinely worried about him because they get guys who I was like, oh, that guy's not good, and then they go to the Lakers. And I'm like, what?
I'm not confident Mo Bamba's going to be back in LA. I don't think that that team option's getting picked up, regardless of whether he's on the Lakers or they use him as salary filler on draft night.
Mo's coming home to Boston, where it all started for him.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, his young days as a Boston.
Yeah, he's a Boston guy. Yeah, he's a huge Boston guy. He's in that video at the TAM where the guys are yelling at him. The bar's closed. Hilarious. You can see Mo in the background in the bar. So
we're gonna cancel Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba's getting canceled.
Yeah. Okay, so Harrison, you've have you been scouting for the 17th pick in the draft? Have you like any targets in that range?
God, no, not at all.
Do you just assume they traded, or you just don't care?
No, I'm just not a draft guy. Like, I don't believe that you can, just jump in and watch. I made.
Well, you're wrong, because I do every year.
Career.
You're making fun of us to our face, Harrison, because that is exclusively
No. Let me finish my point. Hold on.
Okay,
you guys, I could tell actually. Sam, I don't know how much you watch, but
I was gonna say
you go to like statistical profiles and you're like, I don't know, I like this guy.
I did grind Brandon podcast tape the other day. I'm convinced he's the best player.
You only need one prospect.
Yeah, no. Trill, I know you know ball because you brought up that you tried to draft Austin Reeves in the first round, despite all the accusations of racism that garnered you on the stream. And so,
thank you.
You were willing to stand up to cancel culture and go with one of the best players in that draft.
And how is it aged?
Yeah, it's aged really well. That's what I'm saying. So I know, again, like the podcast says, you know ball. But yeah, I made the mistake of thinking that, hey, if I just read a lot of the really smart people on the draft, and then I also like watch my own kind of highlights, try to make my own player comps in my brain, watch like YouTube mixes or, pick up a couple games here and there, whatever, like I'll be able to come up with relatively smart draft takes. No, it turns out that's like really hard. And that's how you end up being like, I think Jahlil Okafor should be the number 2 pick for the Lakers. And and it was with that point that I was like, I think it's time for me to retire from pretending to be a draft Nick.
In defense of that take from 2015, really shitty draft. First off, second, I wanted D'Angelo Russell for the Sixers very badly. It was impossible to project Okay, so I shouldn't say it was impossible to project because the Warriors had just won the title. So that's not true.
Yeah.
But it was hard to project going from, hey, here's a guy who's like the best player on a college team. And like if he was drafted 10 years ago, he would have been a totally fine pick with like the 3rd pick in the draft or whatever, or 15 years, whatever it is. But projecting the league like that he would be out of the league within 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah, it was like off his rookie contract, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. But the league changed literally 6 months before Jahlil Okafor. We were trending in the direction of the spacing shit with like, you can even track it back to like the Suns in the mid 2000s and like the Magic and like whatever. But like, and then the Spurs were the last Spurs teams before the Warriors team. Certainly they all were leading towards this, but to like, to be like, hey, here's a guy who is literally the best player in college basketball, best player on the best team as a 18-year-old, 19-year-old. Usually those guys are really, really good in the NBA.
Yeah, I actually watched the tournament that year. I'm usually not a big college basketball guy. I was like, no, I got to watch it because the Lakers are going to have a high pick. Let me just kind of see what these guys are all about. I was like, yeah, Okafor's great. He's a winner. Led his team to the title. Little
did we know Tyus Jones would be the best NBA player on that team. Or Grayson Allen, I believe, was on that team. I think he was a freshman.
Was he on that team? Maybe as a freshman.
He was a freshman. 14, 15. Yeah, he was 2018 draft. He was a 4-year senior. So I'm pretty sure that was his freshman year.
But anyway, I have not done any scouting on the draft or any of that. Like I don't even try to do that anymore.
Well, Tankathon has you guys taking Bryce Sensabaugh, who's one of my top 10 favorite guys in this draft. So
let's go. Lakers scouting department gets another steal. I'm sold.
Yeah, you'll like him a lot. I mean, honestly, he isn't the level of. There isn't really a 1-for-1 comp for him. I guess the best one that I saw someone make was Alec Burks, which is like, if you get Alex Burke with the 17th pick, like that's a really nice pick. He's like a good rotation guard.
That's the type of thing that is reasonable for you to say out loud, but is also like no fan would ever want to have their pick comp to Alec Burks. It's
definitely not. I mean, he's also still very young and can score at all 3 levels, and it was hyper efficient for a freshman at a major program in Ohio State. I mean, the reason that they're different players, but Malachi Branham was a guy I liked from Ohio State who did the same thing last year. And I think he's going to be a pretty good pro. But this is not a 1-for-1 comp because Bane was such an insane shooter in college and such a by the time he was drafted, was a bit much better ball handler and like pick and roll operator than Sensabaugh. But like I could see like a higher end outcome for him being like a Desmond Bain-ish player. Like if that would be like, that's why I have him top 10. Like I think his higher end outcomes are like sub all-star level player.
Did I tell you guys about how Desmond Bain wanted to be a Laker?
That's why I brought it up. You
Yeah.
came on the podcast and you told me that he went to them and said, please take me. And then they traded that pick with Danny Green
Not
for
just went
Dennis
to them,
Schroeder.
he went on the Lakers Nation podcast because he grew up a Laker fan and talked about how he would love to play for them.
Insane.
Yeah. Well,
and he said that he didn't want to work out for the they traded him and Danny Green for Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, hey, can't win them all.
Can I make I just want to ask you some, informationally speaking, Harrison. What do you think of Keegan Murray?
You know, I think pretty good player. Like if you were to tell me that there was some sort of twin, you know, somebody that is very comparable to him that the Lakers could get.
Yeah. So you see where I'm going with this. What if I told you this guy that his a literal carbon copy of him was available and yet was going 25 on some boards, all the way down to 41 on other boards? Would you consider reaching for him, so to speak, at pick 17?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd have to think about it. The Lakers have pretty good luck with the worst twin. You know, they won a title with Markieff Morris, so
True.
You know.
Very good point. You guys also had the better twin in Brook Lopez in the Kyle Kuzma D'Angelo Russell trade, right?
Yes, yeah.
So you're very familiar with twins. You guys have a history of having players that have twins. So it's honestly it's the par.
Yeah, the Lakers learned how not to handle a twin in that case, and then they learned how to do it with Markieff Morris, and so know I think they're good to go.
Those are the only two draft things I have to offer. Is I've taken the Chris Murray pill, and I am all in on Brandon Podcast, top 10 player in this draft.
My favorite thing that I learned about Chris Murray from the Mirror and Fader profile on Keegan was that they accidentally showed a picture of Chris Murray at the draft when they drafted.
Yeah, they did.
Let's go.
So he's already been drafted, technically.
Yeah, he's already. I mean, I think
you're getting an NBA player at pick 17.
If he doesn't like where he ends up, I think he has grounds to void that draft pick in court. You know, he can say, I was draft eligible. I was selected in the draft last year. I should not have been draft eligible. I should be a free agent, you know.
Well, think about this, okay? So let's say Chris, likes the idea of being in California. He gets drafted by, I don't know, let's say the Miami Heat or something like that. Keegan really wants to check out Florida. They just swap the swapperoo. You just do the swapperoo, and everyone's
like how the Morris twins have a secret triplet that just plays like subs in for them whenever one of them is hurt. Yeah, Mark Morris.
Yeah, Mike Scott.
God, I miss Flastad. You know he's making like $20 million this year.
Yeah, I know. I just did a fake trade for him on the last podcast. We're down bad.
Oh man, he's
totally washed.
He's really bad now, but
it was just to get an expiring salary to move at the deadline. So,
okay, fair enough.
It was basically Norm Powell for Tobias Harris in this trade.
We might see some pure slop. We also this slop season might be like people are going to be grossed out by some of the trades that are happening. We might get that. We might get that Jason Thompson, Carl Landry trade all over again.
Legendary Sixers trade.
Yeah,
I love the trades. Fans of both teams are like, I don't know if we got better. I just like.
Well, we know that a trade is good, and Will is in the comments, so I'll bring up his trade that I liked the other day. And I said, we know a trade is good if all the sides hate it. Like. Yeah. If Cavs fans are tweeting at me that a trade sucks and Nets fans are tweeting at me that a trade sucks, I'm like, okay, so this is a good trade because it means that it's fair value across the board, basically.
Yeah.
And the trade that Will brought up, and I wanted to bring this up at some point, was it was the Cavaliers getting Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith, the Mavericks getting Jared Allen, speaking of the Mavericks, and the Nets getting the 10th pick in this draft and Josh Green. I was like,
I kind of like that for everybody. Yeah.
I was like trying to poke holes in it. And I was like, and someone was like, oh, what a coup for the Nets to get the 10th pick and the 10th pick and Josh Green. And I was like, well, the average outcome of the 10th pick is like not as good as Dorian Finney-Smith. And like, And like Josh Green is like, I don't know, he'll become like maybe he'll be better than Royce O'Neal, but like probably around the same level of player. Like, I don't know.
That's
like,
a really good trade. I'm thinking about it more and more. Yeah. I never put Jared Allen in trades because I think of him as being untouchable. But yeah,
they're going to trade him because
he can't be now. That's like these rules are like, I don't know. I hate the new CBA.
Yeah. It's stupid. And then, but once they sign Mobley next summer to that extension, they're going to have 3 maxes on the books and have no flexibility around that.
It's just crazy they didn't like.
I just hate it because I think my theory on the real reason the owners fought so hard for this CBA is so that people can't call them broke for not spending like Steve Ballmer and Joe Lacob.
Yes.
Like, I think I don't even think it's about like the money or whatever, because they were never going to spend it anyway. Exactly. You know, all these owners have shown time and time again they're not going to go that high. They just don't want their now they want their fans to be pro owner and be like, you got to get rid of this guy because he's overpaid and now we have no depth. You know,
that's absolutely what it's about.
I hate that this has like made me into, you know, like it's like the report Jake Fisher reported the Lakers have like marching orders to avoid the second apron. And my first reaction, instead of being like, oh, like you're cheap, you know, they're cheaping out again, whatever, is like, yeah, I mean, they probably should. Like, that's good.
When you're a team that's as good as drafting and getting undrafted guys and second round picks as the Lakers, this is what we've been talking about. The teams that are going to do really well in this new era are going to be teams that find guys in the second round and UDFAs, and like agents and players are going to lose out. Like, they're going to be pissed, dude, because like the teams that are going to be getting praise are the teams that aren't spending money really.
Hold on. They can buy shares in the team. And there's grind set opportunities.
Another team, but not their team, but another. But it's like
an anonymous team. They don't get to know what team. It's definitely a real thing though that will return real money. Okay,
yeah, it's so true. It's grind set. Like if you're
they can also invest in cannabis companies, guys. Okay, it's just
you know, so true. That's so true.
That was more important than, you know, the NBA middle class existing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Definitely not above. Poor. I do feel kind of bad for Grant Williams, who's definitely gonna get like $8 million this offseason and be like, "What the fuck happened?"
Shit, I should have got extended a year ago before this new shit came in.
Yeah. I wonder who helped negotiate that. Oh wait,
Grant Williams not anticipating the consequences of his own actions. You know?
Oh no! I've made my take on this podcast. I think poking the bear is not real. Jimmy Butler's Ben Simmons now. This is absurd and obscene. I can't believe they're really getting away with the 40% 3-point shooting again. Like, it's insane.
Did you see the thing that Danger Shark tweeted earlier?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
About their shooters. Have you seen this, Harrison?
I think if it's the one that you saw where it was like they improved more than like Steph and, you know, it was something like that. Yeah.
Steph, Clay, and KD made 151 of their 364 3-point attempts for the Golden State Warriors, arguably the greatest team in NBA history en route to the 2017 title. Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, and Robinson are on pace to surpass them if the Heat do the unthinkable and win rings as the team that finished with a negative point differential. They are currently shooting 43% as a collective from three.
Duncan Robinson is the ultimate test case for like every like Twitter egg avatars take that, you know, if you stop podcasting, you will become a better basketball player.
It's true.
That's true.
Yep. The podcast is canceled. Me and Sam are going league.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm signing with the Celtics after this.
I saw Brandon Podcast do it, and I was like, why can't I?
Yeah,
he just like me, for real.
That is one of the few draft people that I know their name, just because it sounds like a made up person that is like it's a little known NBA podcaster that is doing like a bit with their fans where they declare for the draft and see if they can, you know, get a team to sign them as a bit of like investigative journalism.
Yeah. Tankathon's in on it. All the YouTube scouting reports that I've watched.
He's like, look, I'm going to give you 1% of my contract, all of you. You know, it's just.
I'm so Brandon. As a podcaster, I'm so Brandon podcast pilled. That's very. It's going to be very fun.
I'll cry the day that he signs to the Ringer.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't, dude. I'm so excited for everybody to. I guess like my thing with Brandon podcast is that we've finally gotten a thing where podcasters are being recognized, and I think that that's pretty cool. And I just hope that when he goes on to maybe I shouldn't do this.
Can't
joke,
even
actually.
get through it.
Yeah, I remembered Harrison. I'll save this one for a Patreon.
I'll save you, Sam, and say that I felt the representation of Cody Zeller being out there. I was like, wow, a big balding
Very
white
cool.
guy that can't move. He's just like me for real. This is representation.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. All right. Well,
I was like, I too would get lit up by Nikola Jokic. You know, I stand with you, Cody Zeller. It's okay. It's not your fault. Most of us can't guard him.
Yeah.
So, Harrison, I'm gonna let you go. I know that you gotta start grinding some Cason Wallace and Grady Dick film for when you get the 10th pick in the draft.
Disagree. I am going to start photoshopping who the Lakers are going to trade that guy for. You know,
Let's go.
I'm getting the Jason Tatum jersey swaps ready.
Yes. Well, Cason Wallace better, sadly. So,
That's fine. That's fine. Derek White needs more help anyway. We got to get Jason.
No,
Tatum
I mean, you
and
hate
bum off
Jason
the team.
Tatum anyway. I'm helping you out. I'm taking
Exactly.
your favorite
I'm
player
agreeing
off
with
the
you.
Celtics for
I'm
you.
agreeing with you. We got to get that. We got to get that bum some help. You know, like he got lucky that we didn't have to play the Warriors. So Jaylen Brown got to be the fall guy instead of him.
yeah, isn't it awesome that Sam bitched about Jason Tatum for like 4 months and then he dropped 50 points on the Sixers in an elimination game?
Yeah, and he was having a great series up until that point.
But that was
Wyatt
just
went
to punch Sam below the belt one more time. It was
Yes.
like getting
Well,
his
he
hopes
loves-
up, and then
He loves making me look stupid. You know what I'm
he
saying?
did it as
So
a
this-
bit. You
yeah,
know,
no,
it's
that's
just
the thing. The sarcastic college season. Like, go back and look at his college stats. He had one of like the fakest college seasons that Coach K is not seeing heaven.
That's why anytime I see people saying like, "Oh, can you believe the Sixers passed on Jason Tatum?" I'm like, "Yes, I watched that draft cycle. I absolutely understand why they passed on Jason Tatum."
Yeah, he wasn't. I thought we made a huge mistake. You guys have seen the video of me like in shambles at that draft at a fucking bar in New York. Like, Sam Packard fucking recording me with my like hands in my fucking.
you're like, oh, why couldn't you get Markelle Fultz? He's gonna be a star.
I honestly, what my jersey said was Malik Monk. I guess with like open parentheses. I guess underneath that was.
And you would have been right because Malik Monk can score against the Warriors in the playoffs.
That's so true. Yeah. How many times did Jason Tatum score 30 against the Warriors? 0 in a playoff game. So just something to think about. Fraud. We're learning the real season isn't real. Who's more valuable in the playoffs, Caleb Martin or Jason Tatum?
Let's go.
Something to think about.
All right. Anything else we want to say that won't get us canceled before we get out of here? Okay.
No,
That's a good
Thank you,
literally
Sam,
Harris,
for whatever
I'm-
it was that you couldn't make it through. I appreciate you holding back.
Well,
Thank you for saving our careers.
Yeah, well, no, I was. Well, I mean, if it was just Trill, it was fine. And then I saw Harris on the phone. I'll wait.
No,
I'll
he's
wait
got
for
his
Trill.
name on here.
I'm definitely
Yeah.
listening to the second half of the next Patreon episode. You know, it's
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Peace.